Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Rusty Harrison, and today I'm going to talk about the Super Wildcard Weekend in the NFL and give it my own spin. Certainly, we had a lot of storylines to look through the 6 games. And for any football fan, this is arguably the best weekend in football that we just experienced. 6 games in 3 days, just tremendous. And I'll give you my thoughts on each game. From a fan perspective, I'm not going to go into any big breakdowns today, but certainly there are things that people are talking about, and I want to give my own take on those. First of all, we had the game between the Seahawks and the 49ers in San Francisco, and the 49ers won the game 41-23. It was really a game of an incredibly tight first quarter, and Seattle did jump to an early lead and certainly played great in the first half against a well-prepared and rested Niner team. And I thought that both teams played extremely well to their strengths early on. The DK Metcalf, I believe it was a 70-yard touchdown from Geno Smith, was great. And I really thought for a moment that it was going to be a close game. Brock Purdy, the rookie quarterback for San Francisco, who's had such a great start, he was feeling it as a rookie for his first few drives, but he hung in there. And once San Francisco got rolling, it was just amazing to watch. I think that they're the best team in football in terms of their roster, and their coaching is great, especially the offense with Kyle Shanahan. I think it's second to none at the moment. And really, as a Buffalo fan, I'm predicting a San Francisco and Buffalo Super Bowl. San Francisco is just absolutely stacked, and if they play up to par, up to their form, I really don't see anybody beating them, even my Bills. It was just an amazing game. I thought that the one story that comes out of it for me, it's not that San Francisco was dominant. San Francisco's had a compelling season all year, and really has to be the favorite, even though they are the number 2 seed in the NFC. I really have to tip my cap to Pete Carroll. I think that anybody who's watched this season, we could never have seen Geno Smith play at an all-pro level like he did and expect that. He has just blossomed, and I really do think that he is their quarterback of the future. And if they were smart, they would definitely try to re-sign him, as he is a pending free agent in the offseason. So I just think Pete Carroll did an outstanding job this year. The aftermath of the Russell Wilson trade, most people, myself included, we were looking at 5-6 wins, maybe tops. And, there was no indication that Geno Smith would rise to the level that he has. So again, it was just a tremendous effort by San Francisco in winning the game. But Seattle was really, for me, the story. They came up short, but they're looking bright with the haul of draft picks that they've acquired for Russell Wilson. And I think that if they just build around Geno Smith and get a few more weapons in the defense, get a playmaking cornerback, more pass rush. I think that if they can build Legion of Boom too, I don't see why they can't compete with Geno Smith at quarterback. They've got a really good runner in Kenneth Walker III, and I think that all signs are pointing up for the Seahawks going forward. So congratulations again to the 49ers for that game. The game that really stunned me, and I think stunned everybody, of course, was the Jacksonville LA Charger game. This is my third take of this episode because I keep calling them San Diego Chargers, and it's because of the incredibly bizarre playoff history of the Chargers. Collapse after collapse, going back all the way to Dan Fouts and that incredible Charger team that fought my Raiders tooth and nail in the late 70s and early 80s. Just, it's a tragedy for the Charger fans. I really feel for them. And you look at behind me, I mean, my teams are not doing so well historically, and particularly in recent years. And so I do feel for the Charger fans. To have a 27-point lead, to have, 5 turnover, positive margin in the game, and not to win. Four incredibly bad interceptions early in the game. 2 in particular were just bad plays by Trevor Lawrence. But to have those early turnovers and a big lead and not to be able to capitalize in the second half, it's just insane to me. This goes back to the game with the Vikings earlier this season against the Colts, where the Vikings came back from 33 down. I mean, it's just the luck that it takes just to get back. It was incredible for Trevor Lawrence. The knock on him earlier on this year was that he had never led a fourth quarter comeback. I mean, he's been just lights out throughout the season, just been outstanding in terms of his development, and just to get over Urban Meyer's complete lack of, coaching acumen or even, worthiness to be in the NFL with the performance that he gave as coach. It's just amazing what Trevor Lawrence has done with Doug Peterson as coach, leading him and guiding him. And it's really amazing to me how that game turned out. A key missed field goal by Dicker also gave a window for the Jaguars to come back. There was also the Joey Bosa penalty that went half the distance, that allowed the Jaguars to go for a 2-point conversion to make it a 2-point game, and to give them the opportunity subsequently to get the winning field goal. Just amazing to me how Joey Bosa just lost it. I mean, officiating sucks a lot at times, and you got to keep your composure. That was just a play that it opened the door for the Jaguars to get the 2 points and to have that little margin of victory, that they didn't have to go into overtime, that they were able to finish the job late in the game. And I thought that was just a bad look on Joey Bosa's part. I can sympathize with him on some of the things that happened during the game, but I mean, you just can't lose your focus like that. So my look at the aftermath of this is that, I'm recording this on the Tuesday after the weekend, and I know that there was a lot of speculation that Brandon Staley's job as head coach of the Chargers may be on the line because of that complete debacle. And turns out that the Chargers are going to keep Staley by all accounts. And there is going to be some changes to the offensive staff. And I do think that it goes to the play calling, because, again, Brandon Staley is the defensive guru of the Chargers as head coach. He doesn't call offensive plays. It's Joe Lombardi's job. And there's been a great deal of scrutiny about the development of Justin Herbert as a future elite quarterback, for sure, in the league under Joe Lombardi, because it's a really basic dink and dunk kind of offensive approach. And it's not clear that they're using Herbert to his maximum potential. and the play calling was just abysmal. I believe it was a breakdown of 22 pass plays to 7 rushes in the second half. And, you're trying to win the game. You're trying to run the clock out when you have a 4-possession game. And they just didn't do that. And again, you can have a substandard running game. But as John Madden, one of my heroes, obviously, once said, it's not necessarily your yards per rush, your overall running efficiency, how many yards you get. It's how many first downs you can generate with your running game. Even if you're pounding against a wall, if you're able to take time off the clock with a large lead, and you're able to set up play action through at least forcing the defense to address the run, that's going to allow you to take shots and to capitalize. But more importantly, it keeps the clock running. And San Diego completely shot themselves in the foot time and again through that whole sequence, through that whole second half, just by taking their foot off the gas in terms of the running game. Mike Florio, on his podcast, Pro Football Talk, he described the second half for the Chargers as a slow car crash. I wholeheartedly agree. There was nothing in terms of a moment where you could say concretely that that's where the game changed. There was, of course, some breakdowns that allowed, there was one touchdown in particular that I believe it was to Christian Kirk, that Trevor Lawrence had. It was a deep pass that just off a complete breakdown. And you could argue that was a big mistake, but there was nothing in terms of turnovers that would have allowed the Jaguars to come back. It was just a complete and utter slow motion meltdown. And I just don't get the lack of focus in terms of particularly how the game was coached in the second half for the Chargers. So I have to tip my hat off to the Chargers fans. I mean, I'd be calling for heads as well, because it's just pathetic. And I really hope that something better comes out of this, because there's no excuse for losing a game like that. One more thing that came up, and it's been talked about by a lot of people. I'm not going to belabor it, but the fact that Brandon Staley played his starters in Week 17 and made the lineup that has had the most injuries per Pro Bowler, arguably in the history of the league in the last few years. Losing Mike Williams to a back injury when he should have been resting for the playoff game, and not risking his injury history on a meaningless game, because they had no bearing on the Chargers' placement in the postseason. I thought it was a tremendously bad move, and I think that you have to look at again, there are things that Brandon Staley has done in terms of his decision making in game with clock management, and also just in terms of his propensity to go for the whole analytical approach to the game, analytics game, with fourth down attempts at key situations where they don't need to mess around. They have the game under control, and Staley has let teams off the hook. And I think that there has to be a real sobering look at how that organization is handling Justin Herbert's rookie contract window, because they're going to have to pay him probably this offseason a huge contract, and it's going to be a very hard situation for the Chargers if they don't get their coaching straightened out. I want to move on to the Sunday slate of games. 1 o'clock on Sunday, we had the Bills and the Dolphins. I was joking with my friend Cam in Hamilton about Skylab Thompson, because I just thought that Miami was just going to fall out of the sky and fall to the ground. And a lot of people thought that the aftermath of the Damar Hamlin injury and his subsequent amazing recovery to date, that the Bills would be riding that wave of emotion. And because Skylar Thompson is the third string quarterback, that the Bills would roll. And that didn't happen. There were turnovers by Josh Allen. I believe there were 2 interceptions and 1 fumble by him. And very, very sloppy game by the Bills. But again, Josh Allen makes big plays. And that was really the difference of the game. His ability to improvise and to break containment and to make huge throws. So that was a really big win by the Bills, in spite of just allowing Miami to hang around. And I do have to give credit to the Dolphins, because this was the second straight game in Orchard Park this year where Miami really, really played them toughly. And it has to be said that the Bills should have an easier time at home, and they did not. And if they play like they did against Miami, against the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, I believe it's Sunday, they're not going to make it. I can tell you that right now. Joe Burrow is a playoff killer, and I think that Josh Allen is a one of a kind talent as well, and it's going to be a great game. But the Bills have to pick it up, because I was just stunned by them letting the Dolphins stick with them, and the Dolphins, to their credit, hung in there. It was a very close game, and I think it was a great start to the Sunday action. The next game, I didn't watch it as much. I was kind of had my attention on other things as well, but I do have to salute Daniel Jones and the Giants. They won a really close game, 34-31 in Minneapolis over the Vikings, and I just have to say that for all the skeptics against Daniel Jones, I think that he established himself as a dual threat quarterback big time on a playoff stage. I heard was it trying to think of one of the podcasts, the comparison to Kaepernick. I don't know if it was Mike Florio that did that, or made that comparison, but I wouldn't go that far. I think Kaepernick, was an amazing runner, just his breakaway speed. But Daniel Jones is the whole package. I mean, he just he just hasn't had the ability through circumstances with the roster and frankly with the coaching that he had to really develop into that quarterback. And Brian Daboll really does have to be considered a coach of the year candidate, along with Kyle Shanahan. Just an amazing performance by the Giants. Their first playoff win since their last Super Bowl run with Tom Coughlin. Just a great game. There's going to be questions about Kirk Cousins in big situations, whether he's the guy that can get the Vikings over the top. And quite frankly, I mean, they won so many games by one possession this year. And of course, they had that huge comeback against the Colts that I referred to earlier, that maybe that window is going to be contested next year. And I wouldn't put it by the Detroit Lions to be that contender in the division, quite frankly. And we'll see how the Vikings respond to that challenge. But they do have to get some more defensive help, I think. And I think that just in general, they have to really push Kirk Cousins to take some more chances, because late that final play where he threw behind the sticks, that's always a bad look for me. When you need a first down in a crucial situation, you don't make that mistake. You get that ball past the markers and you try to make that first down through an intermediate, pass in a long situation. You can't just check down like that. I just don't. I don't see it. So there was that. The night game in the Sunday action was the Bengals and the Ravens, and I have to say, the Bengals again they got punched in the mouth. That was a really tough game for the Bengals at home, and for Tyler Huntley, the backup quarterback of Baltimore, who was doubtful at one point to even start, but was able to play. He was amazing. That was easily the best game he's played, and certainly the whole tenor of the game was just Cincinnati's inability to put the Ravens away at any point in the game. It was really just a situation where, quite frankly, the Ravens lost the game. People will talk about the Tyler Huntley fumble that I forget his first name, Hubbard, the defensive lineman for the Bengals, who recovered the fumble and ran 90 plus yards for the touchdown. Just a sensational play. His goal line stand. You had Huntley trying to leap over and to reach over, lunge with the ball, and the ball was exposed in a pile. And Chris Collinsworth called it right. There is a time for that, but that's not the time for it. It's, there's just too much that can go wrong if you're lunging with the ball. And Huntley was, quite frankly, too far away from the goal line when he started to lunge. And so he had that ball extended, and it was liable to get knocked out. He didn't have enough momentum to get over the pile in order to successfully do that. And credit to the Bengals for causing the fumble. And that was the key to the game. I've always maintained, when I've talked to guys at the bar or whatever about football, that you can make the diving play. You can be lunging low with the ball in a situation where you have a crease. But to go up like Huntley did, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not 6'6". He's not a guy that's going to be able, with arms, with wingspan, to get the ball over. And for him to make that attempt, that's one of those things that you're going to live with the rest of your life. And it was a tough loss for Baltimore. I give them credit for showing up and really playing hard without their star quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who apparently didn't even go to the game because he has a knee injury and he stayed in Baltimore, which is an interesting sidebar to all the drama that's been happening off the field with the lack of progress in his negotiated contract, his next payday. And, Huntley did really well during that game and made a case for himself if they do move on from Lamar. But they do have the ability to franchise tag him or to use the other tags in order to set themselves up for a deal with Lamar in subsequent years. But that's a problem. And I think that's one of those things where we have to watch for a possible trade next year or two if that doesn't get resolved. Baltimore had an opportunity, just bad luck. Cincinnati took advantage of the situation. I really salute Hubbard on the run. It was amazing for a big man to do what he did. But that's the way football goes sometimes. It's those plays that people will be talking about for years to come that, one play can make an entire season wash away. Last night I watched the game between Dallas and Tampa, and I have to say this: I think I witnessed Tom Brady's last game, and as a Raider fan, as a Bills fan, I have to tip my hat off to him. He's the greatest quarterback in the history of football. But last night, his team couldn't run. He didn't have a lot of support. He had lots of breakdowns in terms of his protection, but he looked 45 years old. And as someone in late 50s, I know what it feels like to be 45 and just to be a civilian. To do what he's done as a quarterback in his 40s, it's unprecedented. And he really has defied time. But I saw things last night. I saw him make really bad throws, miss people. The interception in the first half in the end zone, throwing it to the back, and I'm sure there was some kind of a breakdown, but that was a wounded duck. If he had any doubt whatsoever, just throw it out of the end zone like he's done, hundreds of times before. It was sad, and the Cowboys showed up. The Cowboys came from a debacle in Washington the last week of the season, where they played their starters and lost to a third-string quarterback, and yet they played really well, and they showed the balance that they need. I don't think that they ran the ball as much as I would have liked, when they had the big lead, but certainly they finished the job, and Dak Prescott was tremendous. I have to say that was probably the best game I've ever seen him play. Brett Maher missed 4 point-after touchdowns, 4 conversions. I don't know if they're going to have kickers from their practice roster or invites off the street, but they've got a problem if that's what's going to be on tap for the Dallas going forward. Next week they play San Francisco. What I saw was the worst kicking performance from a reasonably good kicker for a playoff team since I'd go back to maybe Roy Giroux in his last days in Pittsburgh, where he was missing field goals from 20 yards out. He was having just a horror story of an ending to a long and productive career, and Brett Maher was just missing everything, and he did get a convert late in the game, but that was not a good look. And if the Bucs had any running game and any big playability to come back last night, that would have been a huge that would have been something that we would never forget if the Bucs had actually been able to win that game. So, as I said, maybe it's the end of Tom Brady's career. He has a $37 million reason to go to Fox and be a commentator. That contract is sitting on the table, waiting for him when he decides to retire. But, there's been scuttlebutt that he might go in free agency to Miami or go to Vegas because of Derek Carr leaving the Raiders. But I don't know. After what I saw last night, I'm just not sure that a 46-year-old Tom Brady is going to be the difference that my team, the Raiders, need. There are other options that the Raiders can look at, and certainly other teams are going to be wary. If Tom decides to stick around, yes, he has the resume, but I don't know. It was hard to watch, quite frankly. Not because we've seen quarterbacks break down. We saw the recent end to Ben Roethlisberger's career, and just the travails he had the last few years of his career. And, it's sad to see a guy break down, but Tom has always been, in great shape and been able to rise above father time. Or, it just, I think it's over. And so next week, we're going to see how the winners do. I think that Kansas City should win against Jacksonville, but Jacksonville, you never can rule Trevor Lawrence out at this point. I think he's starting to emerge as a, if not an elite quarterback now, he's definitely in the conversation for next year going forward. I think that the Bills and Cincinnati, that's going to be a toss-up. I don't have much faith in the Bills if they continue to make the number of turnovers that they did, in the last game. I still think the Bills can pull it off, but that scares me, quite frankly. Just the inability to play clean football. As for just a quick look at the NFC, Giants and Eagles, third time lucky maybe for the Giants. Eagles were beat up going into their break, going into the bye with Jalen Hurts in particular with his shoulder. I think the Eagles have played the best complementary football overall this year of any team that I've seen. But I think that the Giants are going to make that a game. And beating a team 3 times in the season, it's not easy. And, certainly in the first half, Seattle was giving San Francisco run for the money. And we saw, what happened with the Ravens and the Bengals. It's no bargain. Bills and Dolphins. It's no bargain. Thinking that you're just going to walk over an opponent third time in the season when you've already had a tough fight during the regular season. So I think it's going to be great. This has been a compelling weekend, and I'm sure that there's going to be more stories next week. And I'm going to try to do the same thing next week to give a rundown on the games, from a fan's perspective. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. And we'll talk again soon. Have a good week and take care.